Stop everything you're doing and listen closely, because what I'm about to tell you has the power to completely change the way you see people. Power, respect, and the invisible game that controls your life. And once you understand these truths, you will never be the same person again. For years, you've walked through this world with good intentions and a clean heart, believing that honesty earns trust, believing that kindness creates loyalty, believing that generosity builds relationships. But deep inside, you've always felt something was wrong. Like no matter how pure you were, no matter how much effort you gave, people still overlooked you, used you, underestimated you, and walked past you as if you didn't exist. That confusion was never because you were weak. It was because you were taught the wrong rules, the comforting rules, the rules designed to make you manageable, predictable, safe, while the real rules, the ruthless rules, were kept hidden, known only by the people who rise to the top. The people who command respect without begging for it. The people who walk into a room and quietly control it. The people who understand human nature so deeply that nothing and no one can manipulate them. And 5 centuries ago, one man studied these truths so honestly that the world is still afraid of him, still misquotes him, still misunderstands him. His name was Machiavelli, a thinker who saw through society's illusions long before anyone dared to question them. And today I'm going to take you through 8 ruthless lessons inspired by his philosophy. Lessons that will make you not just smarter, but dangerously smart. The kind of smart that protects you from betrayal. The kind that shields you from manipulation. The kind that transforms you from someone people overlook into someone people fear losing. Someone they respect instinctively. Someone they cannot play games with. But before any transformation begins, you must understand one thing. Intelligence is not about how much you know. It's about how deeply you see, how clearly you read intentions, how accurately you predict behavior, and how calmly you respond when others lose control. Emotional people break, strategic people bend, and only strategic people survive a world built on hidden motives, fake kindness, shifting loyalty, and fragile relationships. The moment you stop expecting life to be fair is the moment you start becoming powerful, because fairness is not a natural law. It's a comforting story, one that crumbles under pressure. And Machiavelli understood this perfectly when he wrote that people judge with their eyes, not with their hands. Meaning the world doesn't see your intentions, it sees your behavior, your posture, your tone, your reactions, your discipline. And this is why so many good people suffer. They think life sees their heart, but life only sees their patterns. Every time you explain yourself, every time you justify a boundary, every time you tolerate disrespect, you teach people how to treat you. And the moment someone learns they can get away with taking advantage of you, they will. Which is why this journey is not about becoming cruel. It's about becoming unexploitable, unmanipulatable, unbreakable. Because being good is not the problem. Being good without strategy is. And if you want to survive with your goodness intact, you must protect it with boundaries, shield it with awareness, sharpen it with intelligence. That's when the transformation begins. When you finally understand that people respect your discipline more than your kindness, that they listen more to your silence than your explanations, and that they value your distance far more than your availability. Transparency makes you readable, and being readable makes you controllable. That is why Machiavelli taught leaders to reveal little, speak with intention, and act only with purpose. Because whether you notice it or not, every day you negotiate your power through your reactions, your breath, your posture, your silence, and your boundaries. And that brings you to your first step toward dangerous intelligence. You must learn to think with clarity instead of emotion. Emotion makes you predictable. Clarity makes you unreadable. Emotion makes you vulnerable. Clarity makes you powerful. And when you start seeing people's behavior through clarity, not emotion, the entire world begins to reveal itself to you. The motives behind their kindness, the insecurity behind their anger, the calculation behind their compliments, the desperation behind their sweetness. Once you learn to read these patterns, nothing confuses you again. And once you begin seeing those patterns clearly, you start realizing that almost nothing people do is random. Almost nothing they say is accidental. Every action is driven by a motive, a fear, a desire, or a hidden insecurity. This awareness transforms you from someone who reacts to life into someone who anticipates it. You begin reading the room before anyone speaks. You notice the slight hesitation in someone's voice, the shift in their breathing, the cracks in their story, the way their eyes change when they lie. These tiny signals reveal more truth than 100 conversations. And this level of awareness is exactly what Machiavelli wanted every powerful person to master. Because once you train yourself to observe more than you speak, listen more than you explain, and analyze more than you react, you become someone people cannot lie to. Someone they cannot deceive easily. Someone whose intelligence feels dangerous simply because it is accurate. And now that clarity has reshaped the way you see people, you must learn the second ruthless lesson. Never show all your cards. The moment people fully understand you, they begin to predict you. And once they can predict you, they can control your emotions. They can manipulate your decisions. They can push your boundaries. They can use your honesty against you. That is why mysterious people always hold more power than transparent ones. The quiet observer becomes the one everyone fears disappointing. The person who reveals little becomes the one others respect instinctively, because information is leverage. And the more you reveal, the more leverage you give away. Machiavelli understood this deeply. He believed strength is not always found in what you show. It is often found in what you hide, in what you don't react to, in what you don't explain, in the silence you keep. And people who stay silent at the right moments create more fear, curiosity, and respect than those who constantly justify every decision. This is why manipulators prefer predictable people. Predictable people are easy to control. Easy to guilt, easy to corner, easy to drain, but unreadable people make them uncomfortable. Their silence breaks the script. Their calmness disrupts the plan. Their boundaries stop the manipulation. If you want to become someone others respect instinctively, you must practice intentional opacity. Reveal your emotions slowly. Share your plans with caution. Protect your vulnerabilities fiercely. Because the fewer openings people see, the less power they have over you. And once you begin practicing this, something interesting happens. People start to assume things about you. They become careful with their words. They become cautious with their tone. They study your silence because they don't know what it means. And it is in that uncertainty where your respect grows. From this point, you begin to understand the third ruthless truth. People respect boundaries far more than kindness. Kindness makes you likable. Boundaries make you respected. And the biggest mistake good people make is explaining their boundaries. You don't need to justify why you said no. You don't need to give a speech about why something upset you. You don't need to defend the standards that protect your peace. A boundary spoken calmly is more powerful than a boundary explained emotionally. Because every explanation lowers your authority. Every justification lowers your value. And every unnecessary apology lowers your position. The moment you enforce a boundary without over-explaining, people understand that your standards are non-negotiable. Respect is born from discipline, not from kindness. And the moment you begin enforcing your boundaries, the wrong people naturally start falling away. The friends who only used you, the people who relied on your silence, the ones who took advantage of your understanding, they disappear, not because you push them away, but because they can no longer benefit from your lack of boundaries. And what remains is clarity, because boundaries do not push away the right people. They filter out the wrong ones. And the fourth ruthless lesson emerges naturally once the noise leaves your life. Study people, not their words. Words are the costumes people put on. Actions are the truth they reveal. You've seen people say they care, yet vanish when you needed them. You've seen people promise loyalty, then switch sides when someone offered them something better. You've seen people swear they were honest, then twist the truth the moment pressure arrived. Machiavelli saw the same patterns in rulers, soldiers, friends, and allies, and he concluded one thing: trust patterns, not promises. Patterns never lie. And once you learn to read them clearly, you become immune to manipulation, immune to fake apologies, immune to sweet words hiding sharp intentions, immune to people who change depending on who is watching. Because now you understand that what a person does consistently is who they are, not what they say when emotions are high. And this awareness prepares you for the fifth ruthless lesson. Expect betrayal before it happens, not out of fear, but out of preparation. Because betrayal is not always a knife in the back. Sometimes it is silence when you needed support. Sometimes it is hesitation when you expected loyalty. Sometimes it is a shift in tone when circumstances change. Once you stop seeing betrayal as shocking, you stop breaking when it happens. You simply adjust, analyze, and evolve. And when you evolve instead of break, you step into a level of psychological strength that most people never reach. Because when betrayal stops surprising you, it stops controlling you. And when it stops controlling you, you finally understand something Machiavelli knew well. People are loyal only as long as loyalty benefits them. Supportive only as long as support is convenient. Honest only as long as honesty costs them nothing. This is why Machiavelli warned rulers never to depend on loyalty alone. He told them to depend on structure, strategy, and self-reliance. Because if you build your life on the belief that people will always stay true to their word, you build your kingdom on sand. One storm, one conflict, one opportunity, one moment of self-interest, and everything collapses. But when you expect betrayal as a possible outcome, not because you are negative, but because you are prepared, you design a life where no single person controls your emotional stability, your financial safety, your career direction, or your sense of self-worth. And when people no longer hold that power over you, you become someone who cannot be shaken, someone who cannot be threatened, someone who cannot be emotionally blackmailed. Because the moment you remove dependency, you remove leverage. And once people cannot use your fears against you, you become incredibly difficult to manipulate. This leads you to the sixth ruthless lesson Machiavelli understood deeply. Your reputation is your armor, your silent protector, the force that enters the room before you speak. Before you argue, before you explain, it shapes how people treat you long before you open your mouth. And most people treat their reputation carelessly. They speak too loosely, react too quickly, reveal too much. They let emotions drive them into mistakes that damage how people perceive them. But when you move with intention, everything changes. When your tone is calm, when your actions are consistent, when your boundaries are firm, when your emotions are controlled, your reputation becomes a wall no one can casually climb. People sense it instantly. They think twice before disrespecting you. They watch their words. They study your reactions because they know you do not operate emotionally. You operate strategically. Machiavelli believed that a strong reputation reduces the number of battles you must fight. People challenge the uncertain, not the consistent. They test the weak, not the disciplined. They provoke the emotional, not the calm. This is why your reputation must be shaped carefully. Not by loudness, but by quiet confidence, not by ego, but by consistent behavior, not by explanations, but by standards you enforce silently. And once your reputation becomes solid, you begin to understand the seventh ruthless lesson. The most powerful way to silence critics is not by arguing. It is by winning. Arguments drain energy, debates lower your value, explanations make you look insecure. But results make everything irrelevant when you are improving, when you are growing, when you are achieving, when you are focused. You silence critics without saying a word. They try to justify their doubts, but your results make their opinions look foolish. They try to diminish your progress, but your consistency exposes their insecurity. Machiavelli believed rulers should seek competence, not applause, excellence, not validation, results, not approval, because competence is undeniable and approval is temporary. Once you stop trying to prove people wrong with words and start proving them wrong with outcomes, something interesting happens. People who mocked you fall silent. People who doubted you become observers. People who disliked you begin respecting you quietly. Even your enemies cannot deny what your progress makes obvious. And this brings you to the 8th ruthless lesson. True power is not about being feared for aggression. It is about being feared for your self-respect. People do not fear the strong. They fear the disciplined. They fear the person who walks away without hesitation, the person who sets standards without apology, the person who does not need validation from anyone, the person who cannot be emotionally shaken because their worth comes from within. Machiavelli knew that strength without restraint becomes cruelty, but strength with restraint becomes influence. And once you become someone who no longer depends on others for emotional stability, someone who does not cling, does not chase, does not beg, and does not break, you become someone people automatically respect. Your presence forces them to adjust. Your silence forces them to think. Your standards force them to rise, and your discipline forces them to behave. That is the nature of dangerous intelligence, not darkness, not cruelty, but awareness, self-control, and a level of inner strength that prevents anyone from ever taking advantage of you again. And when you reach that point where your awareness is sharp, your emotions are steady, your boundaries are firm, and your self-respect is non-negotiable, something powerful begins to shift in your life. People stop treating you casually. They sense, often without knowing why, that you are no longer someone who can be manipulated or guilt-tripped or pushed into anything. This silent recognition creates a new kind of influence, the kind Machiavelli believed made a person truly formidable. Influence built not on fear of aggression, but on fear of consequences. When people know you do not tolerate disrespect, they stop offering it. When they know you will not respond to emotional games, they stop playing them. When they know you will not be guilted into saying yes, they stop asking for unreasonable things. And slowly, without any dramatic announcements, your entire social environment reorganizes itself around your new identity. An identity shaped not by perfection, but by power. Not by ego, but by clarity. Not by anger, but by discipline. And this is where dangerous intelligence reaches its full strength. Because situations that once felt confusing become simple. Interactions that once drained you become neutral. People who once intimidated you become predictable. Once you understand human motives, insecurities, and patterns, you stop expecting people to behave like angels. You start understanding the real reasons behind their actions, why they choose what benefits them, why they say what protects them, why they hide what shames them, why they pretend what gains them sympathy. And this knowledge gives you a calmness others don't possess, a calmness that feels unnatural to people who rely on emotional chaos. And that calmness becomes intimidating by itself, because most people are reactive. They are triggered quickly. They reveal their fears in every argument. They expose their insecurities in every silence. They show their desperation in every misunderstanding. But you begin to move differently, speak differently, think differently, and that difference becomes noticeable. You become someone people watch carefully, someone whose silence makes others uncomfortable, someone whose presence feels heavier than your words, someone whose calmness threatens those who rely on emotional manipulation. Because when you stop reacting, manipulators lose their script. When you stay silent, abusers lose their confidence. When you stay calm, liars lose their rhythm. When you refuse to be provoked, insecure people lose their sense of control. And as this becomes your natural way of living, something else happens. You begin attracting a completely different kind of person. People who respect standards, people who value emotional maturity, people who understand loyalty, people who bring clarity instead of confusion, people who match your energy instead of draining it. This is why Machiavelli emphasized surrounding yourself with the right individuals, not based on charm, not based on temporary affection. but based on consistency, principles, and usefulness to your life. Because the people around you either sharpen your intelligence or destroy it, either protect your peace or poison it, either elevate your mindset or drag it down. And when you decide that your peace and purpose matter more than keeping everyone comfortable, you begin to remove the wrong people quietly. No arguments, no drama, no long explanations. You simply remove access. Powerful people do not announce their departures. They just stop showing up. Machiavelli knew that withdrawal is more powerful than confrontation. When you argue, you reveal emotional investment. When you withdraw, you reveal self-respect. And withdrawal hurts the ego of the wrong people far more than any fight ever could, because it reminds them that they never had the importance they imagined. And once you internalize this truth, you begin living with a freedom you have never felt before. Freedom from needing validation. Freedom from the fear of abandonment. Freedom from chasing people. Freedom from explaining yourself to people who never deserved the explanation. And freedom from emotional exhaustion. That freedom is what makes you truly dangerous, not because you harm others, but because no one can harm you in the ways they once could. Because control over others is not real power. Control over yourself is. And now, with this new identity becoming solid, you stand at the edge of the final transformation Machiavelli wanted every person to reach. The moment you stop trying to be liked and start choosing to be respected. The moment you stop chasing peace with others and start choosing peace within yourself. And once you choose respect over being liked, everything in your life begins to align with a clarity that feels almost unreal. Because for the first time, you stop negotiating your worth. You stop shrinking yourself to keep others comfortable. You stop letting fear shape your decisions. And you begin standing firmly in who you are without needing permission or approval from anyone. This shift is what Machiavelli believed separated the powerful from the powerless. Because liking is emotional, but respect is behavioral. Liking fades when feelings change, but respect lasts even when emotions shift. Liking depends on what you give others, but respect depends on what you demand from yourself. And the moment you begin living a life that commands respect, your presence becomes something people adjust themselves for. Not because you intimidate them through aggression, but because your standards leave no room for manipulation, disrespect, or carelessness. And it's in this transformation that you finally understand the true meaning behind Machiavelli's most misunderstood idea, that it is better to be feared than loved, not because fear is power, but because the type of fear he spoke about was never about cruelty. It was the fear of losing someone honorable, someone disciplined, someone with self-respect, someone who cannot be easily replaced, someone whose absence creates a void that is impossible to ignore. When people know that losing you means losing access to loyalty, clarity, peace, and high standards, they treat you differently. They think before they speak. They watch their behavior. They offer respect naturally. And strangely, this type of respect produces deeper, more genuine love than blind kindness ever could. Because people cherish what they respect and take for granted what they only like. By now, you have become someone whose respect cannot be cheaply earned, someone whose presence cannot be cheaply kept, someone who does not fear solitude because solitude strengthens you, someone who does not fear conflict because conflict reveals truth, someone who does not fear loss because loss often clears the path for better things, someone who does not fear disappointment because disappointment has become a lesson instead of a wound. And as you stand in this new identity, something extraordinary begins to happen. The world stops feeling chaotic because you no longer depend on it to stay balanced. People stop confusing you because you no longer expect them to be flawless. Situations stop overwhelming you because you respond with clarity instead of emotion. This is the highest form of intelligence, the intelligence that sees through people without hating them, that understands motives without absorbing negativity, that remains calm in situations designed to destabilize you, that adapts without losing identity, That walks away without guilt. That protects peace without explanation. And that chooses strategic kindness over blind kindness. Because now you understand that kindness without boundaries destroys you. But kindness with boundaries elevates you. And as your life begins to reflect this new level of awareness, you carry a quiet authority, a silent strength, a presence that speaks before you do, a confidence that is grounded, disciplined, and unshakable. You move with purpose, you think with strategy, you choose with intention, you act with patience, and you respond with calmness. And that is what makes you dangerously smart, not cruelty, not arrogance, but a calm, disciplined, strategic intelligence that cannot be manipulated, controlled, or broken. And as you stand here fully transformed, the only question that remains is the same one Machiavelli would ask any person who wished to rise. Will you continue living guided by emotion, comfort, and naivety? Or will you step into the world with clarity, discipline, and dangerous intelligence? Because only one of these paths leads to power, and only one leads to peace. And now that you have learned the 8 ruthless lessons that make you dangerously smart, the choice is entirely yours.